Well, a ton of Blue Jays news has come out over the past couple days. We're going to break it all down, starting with Roki Sasaki. Got to talk about him. There is so much stuff on Pistol Pete as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. trade. We're going to get into it all. Some stuff we're going to move to Monday. Just get ready. We're coming at you guys with a ton of news today.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, down on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As always, I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. If you're new here to YouTube or you're listening anywhere else, make sure you head over to the YouTube page. You drop a subscription. It's free. It's easy to do so. You might as well. And it'll keep you up to date on live streams, podcasts, videos, shorts, sort of everything in between that we want to get out to you guys, all the information. As well, Discord link is down in the description. If you ever try to join and it doesn't work, let us know so we can throw a new link in there for you guys. So, you can come in, talk Blue Jays with us whenever you want, any time of day. Lot to get into. Holy moly, where to start, Carter? I'm going to go over a couple things just before we really dive into Roki Sasaki. We got to move some stuff to Monday's episode with a bunch of stuff coming out. So we will dive more into some of these things on Monday's episode just because it's not as time sensitive. The Roki Sasaki stuff is pretty time sensitive. Things can happen or will happen in the next few days, so keep a lookout for that. Also, if we go live, probably something big has happened. So let's start here, Carter. Pistol Pete is not going to go back to the Mets. He will most likely go to another team. The Blue Jays were in conversations with him earlier. Will that lead to something? I don't know. The Mets also were paying close attention to the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation. We learned that the package for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., if he was to be traded, would be a lot larger than even what the Juan Soto deal was a few years ago. Again, we're going to dive way more into all of this because it all sort of correlates together. What happens with Pete and the Blue Jays talking? Does that mean Vlad is on the way out? Is there a deal that's even possible for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at this point? What this team's looking at? Are they going to re-sign him? What's in the news? It looks like there are conversations happening with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the contract extension, as we all sort of figured there would be up until spring training. So hopefully there will be something done in the next couple days. That's why we sort of wanted to wait with that one just to see if anything did come of that, if anything else came of these trade talks of Vlad or the extension talks or Pistol Pete. We brought up the fact that we talked about Santander last episode, just the beginning before we brought John on. Santander working out with Alek Manoah. Again, take that with what you will. Guys work out together. So there's a lot of free agents still at play here for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think it's a good thing, Carter, because they are in the mix at least, right? We're not, all these guys, it's all directed towards the Toronto Blue Jays, or that the Toronto Blue Jays are a part of this. With Pistol Pete, the Toronto Blue Jays really are the only team right now that was outside of the Mets that were really heavily in contact with. So I guess we're not going to go too in depth with this, but is this a good thing for the Blue Jays, or is this one of those things again that it's all this talk and nothing's going to come of it?
Well, I mean, you got to be in the top three podium finish on a lot of these free agents to end up landing these free agents. So it can't be a bad thing necessarily that they end on Alex Bregman. They have the highest offer on as well. Not really talking about him this episode too much. Pistol Pete, yeah, a lot of top three. With the Mets, it seems like they're going to go away from Pete Alonso. But now that you saw all that stir up from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., so that's going to be just a little bit of a ploy from the New York Mets there. And then obviously the Santander stuff. Haven't really seen a lot develop in that recently. But then there's Roki Sasaki, who we'll dive into this episode. The Toronto Blue Jays off rip weren't initially one of the 20 teams in on this guy. And then all of a sudden they just miss a few teams. The Blue Jays, mysterious team that come into it. And all of a sudden they're in the top three for Roki Sasaki. So definitely not a bad thing that they're in on the top three and on this podium finish once again. The only issue is we've seen this song and dance so many different times this offseason. We've seen that they've been in on all these different guys. And so far, really the only major free agent signing that they have made is Jeff Hoffman, with excluding Yimi Garcia, obviously, because he was on this bullpen last year. So not a bad thing, but I think Toronto Blue Jays fans just want to see Ross Atkins and this front office actually land these free agents rather than just being in until the end and then being on this podium finish as we've seen with Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot going on right now. And honestly, like at the beginning of this year, when we sort of hit into this free agency, we're like, man, like I hope there's going to be stuff to talk about. I hope the Blue Jays are in on a bunch of moves. Well, they are in. They are looking like they want to make big moves. It's just that, can you get those guys to sign here? That's the big conversation, and a conversation we're going to have again today. We're going to talk Roki Sasaki right away. We'll get right into it. Second segment, we're going to sort of look at his impact on the team, on the organization, on the fan base, if they do end up landing him. Third segment, Carter, a little bit of another renovation happening at Rogers Center. It's cool. We'll show some pictures if you're watching on YouTube. We will show some pictures. If not, we will describe them as well, sort of what it looks like. It's more of just a fun thing, but it's something that, you know, for the people that go down to a lot of games, this might be something they might be interested in. So we want to, you know, we want to have some fun on here too, as much as it is fun talking about free agents. You know, the day-to-day baseball stuff as well within the Toronto Blue Jays is pretty interesting. Makes, you know, we were down there, Carter. We had a blast when all the other new renovations were there. So we'll get into this one as well. This is okay. I'm going to give a timeline of events on Roki Sasaki. There's so much news, Carter. I'm like, my brain is all over the map here. So this is what I see first. Okay. And I think me and you were like seeing it at the same time because the texts were going back and forth between us the other day. So it starts out by this. Giants have been told Sasaki is not coming to San Francisco. Then the next tweet. Sources say the Yankees have been told Sasaki will not be signing with them either. And at this point, Carter, I'm like, all right, so is he just whittling down these teams then to say, oh, I'm going to the Dodgers, just like everybody assumed I was going to? And then an interesting tweet from Jeff Passan comes out, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Because I was not in on this guy. At the beginning of the offseason, I said, he ain't coming here. Tip your cap to the Dodgers. That's where he's going. Now it gets a little bit more interesting. Here's the tweet. The finalists for Japanese star right-hander Roki Sasaki are the Los Angeles Dodgers, the San Diego Padres, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Sources tell ESPN Sasaki will decide on his team by the closing of his posting window, which is January 23rd. So when this comes out, it's less than a week away. So this is time-sensitive stuff. A move with Sasaki will happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you said they're in the top three, but kind of the way that we've seen it unfold is it's the Dodgers, it's the Padres, and then somewhere all the way, maybe in the ditch somewhere, is the Toronto Blue Jays. We've seen this with Shohei Ohtani. We've seen this with Corbin Burns. We've seen this with Juan Soto. We've seen this with so many different teams and different instances with the Toronto Blue Jays have been in on some guys where, for me, this feels exactly like the Shohei Ohtani stuff, except instead of being that number 2 team, we're the number 3 team, unfortunately, this time. This, for me, has Dodgers written all over it, the entire thing, all mucked up, especially with what they've done this last season. Obviously, the World Series champions, that's probably something that he is looking at as well. With Shohei Ohtani, with Yamamoto there as well, has some Japanese friends that he could be joining the same team as. But with Roki Sasaki, it's been an interesting development because you had 20 teams. Like we said, Toronto Blue Jays not being one of the 20 teams. Then all of a sudden, we get a lot of these articles. You were kind of texting me about those first teams being out of the running. Didn't really affect me too much. Until I saw that the top 3 finishing with where the Toronto Blue Jays are at with this major player coming from the Japanese leagues. Guy sits 99 miles per hour on his fastball. A guy is going to be an unbelievable player, a franchise cornerstone for whichever team that he does end up joining, and can completely flip a franchise down from, being a 72-win team, 74-win team, all the way to maybe making the playoffs, maybe making this deep playoff push in a tough division. So with the Toronto Blue Jays, this guy completely revamps their team, completely revamps the starting rotation, Probably starts out as a middle inning guy or a middle rotation guy, just with the lack of innings that he has thrown. But you got to hope that he can work up and show some of the stuff that he showed in that Japan League and in the World Baseball Classic, and take that to the Toronto Blue Jays and elevate this team to the next level.
So this is what doesn't make sense to me. Okay, he decides to come now, which means that he has to take less in an international deal, which means he isn't going to make the Shohei Ohtani money, the, whatever. He's got to make his mark in this league first. Yet, that's right. And so right now, the Blue Jays are in a weird spot. So I'm going to go over it. The Blue Jays and the Padres both have around $6 million in bonus pool money, international pool money, whatever you want to call it, to give to him. And it pretty much would all be allocated to him. The Dodgers have $5 million. So to me, this isn't a money deal for him. This is, where do I want to play? Which team do I want to go to? Because at the end of the day, how much does $1 million make or break right now for his career? Because he knows in probably 2 or 3 years, Carter, he's going to get that absolute bag. And so for the Toronto Blue Jays, as much as you want to say maybe that this is a stepping stone, a cornerstone piece of their franchise, I don't necessarily believe that after they give him this deal and he's here for 2 or 3 years, I don't think the Blue Jays would re-sign him. So I think you're looking at a guy that's going to give you 2 or 3 solid years, which technically is in this Toronto Blue Jays win now window. But at the end of the day, I don't see a re-signing happen, even if they do get him. And again, that's talking very, hopefully. But it is weird to see that he decided to make this move now, not wait a few years and then just get the bag and come right over. This whole situation with international players, it's a very hard thing to look at, because guys know they aren't going to be making probably what they would if they came in, later on down their careers. But in the same respect, I think it's about getting your foot in the door, getting some recognition within the MLB, the biggest baseball league in the world. And understanding that you have to put in sort of the time. You have to get your foot in the door. So that's what this is for him. So where gives him the best opportunity to do so? That's a big question, because the Dodgers have a lot of pitchers. They do. They have a lot of guys that could be slotted in their 1 to 5. The Padres could use them, and the Blue Jays could use them. Where does he end up going? To me, I think it's the Dodgers. But again, Carl, I don't know. Are you sort of a little bit boggled by the whole money situation as much as I am here? Or does that play a role at all for you? Or are you with me that I don't think it mattered? The money doesn't really matter right now.
Well, and when he comes to North America, just again, how the international signings work, he has 6 years. His service time starts right then. You have 3 years of pre-arb, and then you have 3 years of arbitration as well. So he's really not going to be making his money until his age 29 season. So there is a lot that he's going to have to wait for. But from the reports that I've read and from what I have seen, he's not really in it for the money. Again, you have the international signing bonus. The Blue Jays and Padres, like you said, around $6 million. The Dodgers $5 million. It doesn't, at that point, doesn't really matter. Every team should technically have a shot at a guy like Roki Sasaki, and that's why there was 20 teams interested at the start, because it's not this big free agent contract like the Shohei Ohtani after waiting a while. Juan Soto obviously getting the highest contract in MLB history. This is just kind of him wanting to make an image, him wanting to build a career around himself, him wanting to be in the Hall of Fame and one of the best pitchers to ever do it. So if you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, if you're looking at star talent over there, it's pretty clumped up right now. There's a lot of different players that can have MVP caliber seasons. You got obviously Freddie Freeman, just name a few, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, a bunch of guys over there that can do it. Padres, not as much as that Los Angeles Dodgers look. And then the Toronto Blue Jays, he might be looking for that whole country aspect. When you play for the Toronto Blue Jays, you got all of Canada, and then hopefully some people from Japan if you get Roki Sasaki as well. So it's never been a money thing for him. I just think he wants to be a very good ball player, and he's going to have to evaluate whether the Dodgers, the Padres, or the Toronto Blue Jays give him the best opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, this sort of goes back to the same conversation that we had with Shohei Ohtani, right? Is you got the whole country behind you. Why would you not want to come here? Why do you want to, you could come here and be a face of the franchise player. We've had these same conversations. I remember when we did our demo for Locked On, this was the exact conversation that we had then. So that's what's turning those red flags off for me. I'm getting the red light shining, through my eyes right now, because I see the pattern here, right? And I see the pattern again with Juan Soto, right? It's different, but it's the same, right? It's the hopes are high. and then they get torn down. And again, I don't want to put that much negativity out there because I think out of the three of them, Ohtani, absolutely, we were all in, right? You had to be at the time. The Soto one, we were a little dialed back. I think we knew what was happening there. Now, with this one, I'm sort of in between. I think that there is a possibility because you're right, it's not the money factor of it all. But I'm not completely out of it either. I don't think that, I don't want to be completely down in the dumps and oblivious to the situation. So I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I'm right in that middle. I want to talk about sort of, Carter, what the impact of him would be on this team, how he would fit in the lineup, and then, of course, the impact through the fans, through the organization, just what he can bring to Toronto if he does decide to come here. So I think let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more about this because this all does play a factor into, his decision and the money he could possibly make moving forward. So again, take a quick break. Be right back with all of that.
Today's episode is sponsored by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for all your finances. With how busy people are nowadays, obviously like me being in school, just life goes on. You have family stuff, you have friends that want to hang out, you have work that obviously you want to do as well. Very easy to lose track of some of these things. It's very easy to have a bunch of unwanted subscriptions that if you keep accruing them, you're paying $50 to $100, maybe even over $100 a month on some of these unwanted subscriptions, and you don't even realize it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. So you can cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. You can go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on.
So, Carter, like I said, let's get into it. Let's talk about the impact he might have, right? I'm going to throw it to you for this one, all right? Where does he slot in right now if he signs with his Toronto Blue Jays team in this starting rotation? Like, you got to think Gauze are still your number one. I think the faith that you have in Jose Berrios has to still be there. But you see the respect that this guy has earned already without even being in the league. Where does he slot in for you in this top five? And what does that do then to guys like Bowden Francis, Yariel Rodriguez, Alek, Manoah, Chris Bassitt? What happens to all of this?
For me right now, for a guy as young as he is, again, he's thrown about 100 innings in the last 3 seasons. So as a starting pitcher, that's not exactly what you want. You probably want around 150 innings, maybe 175 innings. We had Chris Bassitt a couple seasons ago who threw 200 innings. Obviously not expecting that necessarily from Roki Sasaki off the gate. So I think this really depends on what point of the year you're making these rankings. To start out the year, I think with him being unproven with that little bit of a ramp up, I think he's probably the number 4 guy. Some people might not love that, but when you have Kevin Gausman, you have Jose Berrios, Chris Bassitt, I think you got to roll out your 3 veterans over a guy like Roki Sasaki, who again has the stuff that can be the ace of this rotation. Honestly, even by the end of the season, you get to a playoff game and you have Roki Sasaki pitching, he might be your number 1 when it comes down to that moment. So at the start of the season, I'd say he's my number 4, but I would not be surprised with the arsenal that this guy has. Some of the stuff we talk about Jose Berrios to slurve. You talk about seeing pitches move on the TV. We hopefully get to see that Jeff Hoffman slider be working like that as well. When you got Roki Sasaki with that fastball, splitter, and slider combination, all 3 of them disgusting pitches, throws in the curveball like once in a while, just tries to kind of steal strikes. So it's really that 3-pitch mix. I think to start the season, probably your number 4 guy would not surprise me whatsoever. If they do end up landing this guy, can be their ace for the foreseeable future.
Wow. Yeah. See, I don't know. Like, I get that because I think that Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassitt, Jose Berrios, all of these guys, are older. This guy is a young guy who can come in, and I don't think we've seen exactly, what he's fully capable of yet. So I think he could slide in very well there. I agree with you. I think to start off, you're right. Probably your number 4 guy, as much as you love Bowden Francis and you think that he can, eventually be good as well. Right now, we haven't seen that proven 100% from a guy like Bowden Francis or Roki Sasaki, so he has to slide in somewhere there. But I think by the end of the season, I think you could look at him as your number 2 or number 3 guy. I don't necessarily know in season 1, is he going to take over Kevin Gausman or Jose Berrios? I don't know. I think Bassitt would be that guy that's, sliding down the lineup there. Now, Carter, I want to get into his impact on the fan base, because I think that's the next most important thing here. Yes, of course, your on-field play is huge, but I think a signing like this, what does this do for the fan base that's been, sort of screwed the past 2 times when in on big free agents, big name guys? Does this solve some of the problems of like the conversations we have and that we had with John on Wednesday? That those top 3 podium finishes, does that then negate that? Do they say, okay, well, they missed those 2, but now we've seen this front office prove it to us that they can make things like this happen? Does that change your viewpoint on how you think of this front office?
I think it has to. I think you got to give him credit here. When it comes down, even a guy like Corbin Burns, obviously established in the MLB, but you get Corbin Burns for $35 million a year. You get Roki Sasaki for league minimum for the first 3 years. And then after that, you got to deal with the arbitration. Obviously, it works up a little bit, but you're getting a huge bargain on a talent like this compared to a guy like Corbin Burns. I think you can easily forget that you had those top 3 finishes with even like the Juan Sotos, the Corbin Burns, other players that have gone off the free agent market. I think when you land a guy like Roki Sasaki, one of the best free agents of this class, you could say, minus like the MLB talent right now, even like when you throw them in, I'm still taking Roki Sasaki over a lot of these other guys, just the projectability with how young he is and some of the stuff that he does have. So I think it's definitely, it would take a lot of people's minds off of what missed this offseason, what could have been. And when you have Roki Sasaki, does this make this team very competitive in the AL East? Definitely helps. Still need that power bat at the end of the day, and that's going to be what most people are saying, as we've seen with the Jeff Hoffman sign. You can't really take that at face value because everyone's still worried about the bats. So even if they sign Roki Sasaki, are the fans going to be happy? I don't necessarily think so, but I will be very happy for majority of the fans. If they're not going to be happy, I'll be happy for them.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly where I was going to go next with my point, was that we get the comments every single video. That I remember going back to the Hoffman videos, and that wasn't too long ago, Carter. Well, who cares? They're not upgrading the bats. And I agree with you. We agree with you. We understand that this team needs to add some power into this lineup. But you can't argue with these signings. These signings also need to happen to make this team better. The Jeff Hoffman signing needed to happen. That was an amazing move, and you can't take anything away from that move. Or I don't think, at least. And yes, 100%, they need to get somebody like an Anthony Santander. We have said that time and time and time again. Even a Pistol Pete adds a good dynamic to that offense. Yes, not necessarily the positional need you want, but he adds that bat. And we 100% know that you have to add that bat. But getting a guy like Roki Sasaki, yeah, it doesn't change that fact. But man, does it ever help your baseball team? It makes your baseball team better. That's what you want to see out of free agency. You want to see your baseball team get better. And this move would 100% do that. It would make this team better. Would it make this team a playoff contender? A World Series finalist? No. But one guy won't do that. I don't think if you just signed Anthony Santander this offseason, I don't think this team is a World Series contender. If you just signed Juan Soto this offseason, I still don't think that makes you a World Series contender. It helps, but you still have to have all the other pieces. So the good thing, at least right now, Carter, is I see a want to move forward. I want to get better with this front office. They're trying. Does that mean anything? Not necessarily, but at least it puts me back somewhat in their good graces that they're going out to try to make this baseball team better. Do what I asked. I said, again, if you get Pistol Pete or Anthony Santander or Alex Bregman, and you upgraded the bullpen and you upgrade the starting pitching, you can't say anything. They've done everything you've asked of them. So if they get Roki Sasaki and then they go get a bat, I'm over the moon right now, Carter. That would be a dream scenario for me.
Yeah, you definitely cannot say that this front office is not trying to get better, being in on Juan Soto, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, highest offer to Bregman. You got Santander, looks like the highest offer to him right now. We can go down the line and see how many big-time free agents this offseason that they have been in on. And obviously, Roki Sasaki might be one of the biggest ones, I guess, minus Juan Soto, you could probably say. But this is a guy that can completely change their franchise, can be a huge cornerstone, and can help a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. have a little bit more incentives to stay with the Toronto Blue Jays. But we've talked a lot about Roki Sasaki. I haven't really gone into the stats too much, so I'm going to kind of break it down here quickly for you guys. So over the last 3 years, ERAs of 202, 178, and this most recent one being 235. innings over those last 3 years: 129.1 in 2022 and 2023, 91, 2024, 111. So you kind of want to get those innings pitch numbers up. But again, it'll be gradual. Probably won't throw 155, 175 for the first year. But in year 2, year 3, you could probably expect to see those numbers. And just other stats as well. The strikeout rates, the walk rates are absolutely ridiculous. 129 strikeouts last season, 32 walks. A whip in 2023 of 74.74, absolutely insane this year. Kind of got a little bit back to what it could regularly be, what we could see at the MLB level, but still a 1.03 whip. Definitely not something to stick off at. Home runs per 9.2, you got walks per 9, 2.6, strikeouts per 9 this last season, 10.5. And when we go into some of these pitches, we go into what Roki Sasaki has. This guy sits 99.1. That's his average fastball. So seeing that, a flamethrower with the starting rotation would be so fun to watch, minus like what this team does, just for enjoyment of baseball, which Toronto Blue Jays fans should be chasing, especially with all the uncertainty. This would be a fun guy to watch on the mound. On his splitter, he has a 70% ground ball rate. Is that good? You tell me. If they're hitting it on the ground, they're not going to be hitting it out of the stadium, so that is very nice as well. When you look at the splitter, you look at the whiff rate, 52.3% whiff rate on this splitter in 2023. So he's got all the projectability. You got a very high fastball. You got that splitter that has an unbelievable whiff rate and is getting a lot of people to roll over. And then you mix in the slider as well, 45% whiff rate. That is also a very good pitch. So again, is Japan a little bit different than the MLB? Absolutely. You probably don't have as good of caliber hitters, but you can take a lot from what he has done in Japan. You can take that 99 average fastball. You translate that to the MLB, probably going to be a pretty good pitch for him at the MLB level if he continues to have command of these pitches.
Yeah, Carter, you know what's sort of hilarious? It reminds me of when we discussed Yariel Rodriguez before the season, right? It was this guy that you thought, oh, wow, this could really be an interesting piece for this team. Now, times that Yariel Rodriguez signing by 1,000, and here we are. Now, this could be a huge, huge get for the Toronto Blue Jays. And again, like you said, Carter, those numbers are absolutely ridiculous. And yes, it is in Japan. It's a different league. It's a different type of baseball, but it's still there. It's showing you what this guy can be. Again, you saw him in the
World Baseball Classic.
Baseball Classic. Thank you so much. And you saw him, how he was able to perform there. So again, there's a lot of upsides to this guy. Everybody knows that. I mean, we're not saying anything new here, really. Everybody with eyes can see how good this guy is and how good he probably can be in the MLB. So Carter, I want to leave it here. I'm excited about this. I think this was some cool information to get. I'm still skeptical. I have to be, just with the track record of this organization. But I'm hopefully optimistic. That's what I'll say. I'm hopefully optimistic.
And this can completely change in offseason. This can go from a relatively disappointing offseason up to this point. You sign Roki Sasaki. Again, you don't necessarily remember all those guys that you did miss out on, because you do have Roki Sasaki, and not just for 1 year. You would have this guy for 6 seasons. Would make the Toronto Blue Jays a lot of fun to watch, especially when you look at Bowden Francis, who could have very good projectability. You obviously have some guys in the prospect pool you can be excited about. Trey Savage will eventually get here. Ricky Tiedemann, if he can never stay healthy. So there would be a lot of things to get excited about. And for a team that hasn't necessarily developed a lot of good starting pitching depth, would help them out immediately. You don't have to develop depth when you can get a guy from Japan who's going to throw 99 as soon as he's coming into the MLB and touches 100 on the regular. So, I'll throw it back over to you. Finishing thoughts.
Just you know what? There was something else I wanted to add in, forgot about earlier. One of his looks at a team was how they can develop pitching. And we've seen time and time again that we can change pitchers and help pitchers so much better than a lot of other organizations. And so
once they get to the major leagues,
absolutely, once they get to the major leagues. Yeah. Let's not get
before then. I don't know.
Confused. But when they get there, we've seen what Pete can do. We've seen what can happen here with some guys. I mean, you look at a guy like Yusei Kikuchi, who, to be honest, nobody really had a clue of what that guy was going to turn out to be. Look what he can do now. Look at his past couple of years. He's been absolutely electric from what we originally thought he was going to be. So I think that's a big bonus, because that's something stated by Roki Sasaki that he's looking to get. So, and he's not going to be starting out in the minors. He's not going to be going through the farm system. You're getting, help from all these guys. He's going to go straight to the majors, get Pete's help, and hopefully he'll be able to just absolutely, master his craft, if you want to say. But Carter, I think we've talked a ton about Roki. I mean, we could go on for a lot longer yet, but we've gotten the major information out to you guys. Now, for those of you guys who go to the baseball games, go to the Blue Jays games, maybe something you can indulge in here. I know me and Carter would probably have a blast here, so I think let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll chat about that for a few minutes before we get you guys out of here on this Friday. So, but for those of you who buy tickets, make sure you stick around for this next segment because I think this is something you'll want to check out. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. I always tell you guys how much I love FanDuel because I like winning money and I'd rather not lose money. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. I'm telling you, $300 in bonus bets is $300 of free play money. Throw that around. Hopefully you'll win big on some of those. That is unbelievable. I'm telling everybody about this deal right now because it is just that good. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and you'll get started. Again, like I said, $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Use their live game parlays too because that's where you can hit big. You can see who's doing well. You can see who's not doing so well. You know who to bet on. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Carter, let's get into this. For you season ticket holders or anybody that just likes to go to the game, if you buy those small packs or whatever, maybe this is something that would interest you. And we want your thoughts and opinions on everything we've talked about today, obviously on Roki, but also on this because they do these renovations to the ballpark and they got to pay them off somehow. So you might as well bring in some big talent. So this is an interesting one, Carter. We go to the games. We had this conversation with John actually just on Wednesday. It's hilarious that something came out just yesterday. And we don't go necessarily for these attractions. This isn't meant for us hardo baseball fans necessarily, but we still like to have a couple beers at the game, get a couple dogs, have a good time. Or the last time we went, we have way too much fun at the games and way too many beers at the games. It was a blast. But Carter, can you remind me of the name of this place? It's Club
328.
328. So this is, for those of you on YouTube, I'll show the picture on the screen, but we'll sort of talk everybody else through it so that, we sort of paint the mental image here. So the first picture I bring up here, Carter, interesting spot for this, right? It's sort of underneath the stands and it's like a little bar. So I'll just scroll through the pictures, Carter, then you can give me your sort of thoughts here. So then we go to this one where you're almost field level underneath sort of down the first baseline, Carter. And this one's, I don't know, super interesting. It looks cool. It looks very new. I go to this one. You see the bar. It looks, like I said, it's very unique, very modern. And then this one, you get those benches out. You get sort of the, like the fenced off area. It looks cool. It's all very, very sleek. It looks like that. I think this is a very good addition. I think being field level is very cool. It's something that I would love to experience. I know when we went to the game, we sat in the home, sort of, right beside the bullpen, I guess, or right above the bullpen, was it? Or right
above the bullpen,
like 3 rows up from the field, and it was unbelievable. It was tons of fun, and those are great seats. Yes, you don't necessarily see everything from there, but I think it's the atmosphere of being right there, feeling like you're like in the game. It's crazy. So I think this is a great addition. Does it make me want to go to the ballpark more? Not really. I want to see good baseball. So signing guys is obviously where I'm coming from. But I think for the people that have season tickets and go to games or they'll go on those Fridays or go on those Saturday games and, go for the beers, go for a good time. This is something I think that could really attract fans that way.
See, and from what my understanding is, it looks like you have to buy tickets. Like it's a VIP section. If you don't have tickets to that section, you're not allowed to be in there. But obviously, you can leave that section. You can go to different spots. You can go to like Corona Rooftop. You can go wherever you want. If you want to hit up some dugout deals, you can do that. One thing I don't like about this is that apparently the drinks and the food, Rogers, obviously makes a lot of sense, but they're not included in the tickets. Who would have thought? I think that would have been a nice thing to have. You have like maybe some snacks that are free, or even like if it's soft drinks like Pepsi, Coke, whatever it is. Obviously, the beers and stuff like that. If you want to go with alcohol, you're probably not going to make that free. That's how Rogers has to make their money to have all these renovations and just the underground view. I think that's nice for like an inning or so. But I feel like after a while, you're so far away from home plate, and obviously you're not elevated whatsoever. So it's going to be kind of tough to see, especially with maybe you have a shortstop, some umpires, a bunch of different things in your way as well. I don't necessarily know how the view would be. And I think from what I've seen, again, we didn't really find a lot of information on this yet, just kind of some pictures, some initial introductory things, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like that you have to buy these in like 20 packs almost. We were seeing a lot of quarter season stuff. I think there probably would be a way that you can buy tickets individually, but if you have to like commit to this 20 pack for these tickets underneath in this club that you've never really seen before, I think there's got to be some other way that you can at least just get one ticket or maybe a pack of 5 other packs that go into this as well. Just so you kind of know what you're getting into before you buy this 20 pack, which is a huge commitment.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like the fact that I'm watching every game from that spot. If I'm buying a 20 pack, I want to be like, I like to be in the atmosphere with the fans and cheering on with everybody else. That's sort of where I like to be. And that's why where we sat at the games we went to were fantastic. And then of course you can go and explore the rest of the ballpark. You can, we went and checked out all the rooftops and whatever else they're called or whatever. Again, not maybe meant for us, right? We're there mostly for the baseball. We love the baseball. Maybe some people go to these games, and we know a lot of people do that go to these games for the atmosphere and the drinks and the parties afterwards and getting maybe their friends together. That's great, and this is something maybe for them that would be really cool. I don't know. They'll probably have like some type of DJ or band down there as well, like they do with the other ones. So I think it's just hitting maybe the different demographics. That's probably what I'm thinking this is more so about.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You have a bunch of different attractions. Maybe you don't have the best product on the field at all times. So you need some other distractions. You're making it kind of into like an entertainment complex rather than just the baseball. Obviously, you want the baseball to be the main focus. But if you have opportunities to kind of have some fun, maybe make it like a family day. They always have their Junior J Sundays, things like that. Is this going to be a part of that? Probably not. But hey, like maybe the dads can be in there when they send their families with the mom or whatever. Maybe the grandparents can, take a shift with the kids, and then the husband and wife can go over and check out that club 328 and see how it is for themselves. But do you have anything else to add about the renovations? Or I got one more thing about Roki Sasaki. Just bring the man home. Let's get something good for the Toronto Blue Jays fans for what seemed like a little bit of an eternity here, especially with these top end free agents, these top end international players, whatever it is. The Toronto Blue Jays always seem to kind of get the scraps a little bit, not necessarily getting that big fish in the ocean. Hopefully we can bring it in. You've seen what Pete Walker's done with Steven Matz. You've seen what he's done with, you said, Yusei Kikuchi. Jose Berrios had 1 year where everyone completely lost faith. And I think we were pretty good on the fence that, hey, we've seen what Jose Berrios can do throughout his career. This guy's going to bounce back, especially when you do have Pete Walker. But yeah, just bring the guy home. Just another established piece for this starting pitching rotation. Then you obviously revamp the bullpen to get one power bat. It's going to be a lot easier to get excited about this team than it was even a month ago when you're talking about what the roster construction could look like.
Yeah, dude. You know what? No, I don't really have anything else to say on the Bar thing. I mean, cool, but whatever. And no, I agree with you. I think this is a big moment here. This last little bit before pitchers and catchers report is huge, right? There's still so many things that need to be done, and we're sort of just sitting on our hands right now, waiting for something. Will Roki Sasaki sign? Will Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sign his extension? Will he get traded? Will Pete sign? Will Pistol Pete? Will they land Anthony Santander? There is a lot up in the air. So this is a huge time for Blue Jays fans. So I think we just got to do a little bit of praying to all the gods about all these guys that, at least they land a couple of them, ideally. But in saying that, again, huge episode coming on Monday talking about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Projected trade, what they are asking for, the whole Pistol Pete of it all, the New York Mets trying to get in on Vlad, all of that. That will be coming on Monday. So make sure you guys, there is a lot of information and probably stuff that you guys have missed. I know a lot of you guys are on Twitter and everything like that, but I was on a complete deep dive here, Carter, onto trying to get as much information as possible. So I'm sad that I have to save it for Monday, but it also drives up the, what is it called? Anticipation. There you go. Yeah. So hopefully everybody will like that. Again, it's coming. We had to get this Roki Sasaki stuff out because it is so time sensitive. With that Vlad stuff, you don't necessarily think it's going to happen over the weekend. It seems like it's a little bit further on down the line here. So again, appreciate you guys for tuning in and always watching, liking, subscribing. comment in the comments have been unbelievable lately. You guys talking to each other in the comments. That's something I always like to see. It's always super fun to sort of look over what you guys are all talking about. But in saying that, Carter, I know we got an interesting weekend planned, a lot going on just with work and school for you and so much other stuff going on. Obviously, NFL playoffs. So a ton going on here. Hopefully, you guys all have a great weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid or don't do anything Carter and me wouldn't do, as we always say. But also don't do anything that we wouldn't do or the other way around, whatever it is. Have a good weekend, guys. Take it easy.